should start this video by making this statement. While I'd very much like to dig into this content creator much more than I will in this video, given the shocking amount of skeletons he refuses to keep in his closet and insists on throwing on the fucking floor around his room, I want to keep this video simple, and I only want to focus on the video I'll be discussing here. When it comes to my videos, I try not to let bias and distaste get in the way of my commentaries, but this person irks me a lot. And while I will shy away from acting like an edgy 15-year-old a la my older commentaries, if I come off as a little more tilted, that's why. I know I joked about Lunatic Altar being all evil and stuff, but I'm also contractually obligated to look sexy too, and I'm more interested in doing that. That aside, why am I pissed and why am I sexy? I can't answer the last question, but I can sure answer the first one. So for context, in July 2021, a face you should all be a bit familiar with at this point named Carmen Ryder made a video arguing why people should be allowed to make NSFW art of people's OCs, whether or not they actually want them to be made. Now, I could sit here and talk about the floodgates of destruction that video brought upon the world, though I will show minor Arcana number 4 because that's the only thing I've ever been proud of in my life, please watch it. But instead, we're going to discuss an interesting video that worked off of Carmen's heels. In November 2021, a YouTuber with a history of doing things that I'm going to pretend I don't know about for the sake of trying not to commit a Sephiroth, known as Studio Neeting More, made a video that defended Carmen's points and tried to expand upon them. The end result is by far the worst YouTube video I think I have ever seen, and that is not a joke. I am convinced. I believe you are all due a reasonable understanding as to why I feel that way, so let's begin.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
So a while back I made a tweet about how some people draw hentai of others' OCs. The tweet reads, Artist: Hey, don't draw porn of my character. I'm gonna report you. The character:
Ooh, the intricate design of that model is really quite unusual. It's funny because I also drew art that is similar in terms of design. This is of course my little hasty doodle of my fan art of Twitch. If Twitch was represented as a Twitch thought, my point is that art tends to look like other art if you give it enough thought. So if I draw art that so happens to look like your OC, and did not have the knowledge beforehand, does it make me one of those horrifying, disgusting NSFW artists?
Now, sure, it would be incredibly cliche for me to start this interjection with a phrase along the lines of, wow, there's so much stupid stuff for me to cover here. But honestly, after giving it some thought, I don't even know what else I can say, because it's exactly how I feel other than a sense that I crave some bread, Britain French. Really though, I'm going to try and tiptoe through this bit by bit, and if I can politely start by admitting that while I don't want to say anything overly mean-spirited in this video, I'm having a hard time coming up with words that aren't inherently insulting when trying to describe the logic that you use to justify Carmen's idea that people should be allowed to draw people's OCs in naughty artwork whether or not they're okay with that. And while I admittedly spent a lot of time trying to come up with a less rude way of putting it, honestly after giving it a lot of thought, I don't think that's even humanly possible because like, if you seriously sit down and digest what you just said, it's very visibly you skirting around the actual problem for stupid hormone-related reasons. Look, your claim is that by nature people's OCs tend to not be that original in the first place, so on principle it's not nearly as big of an issue when people loot people's OCs. I will delve into the reasons why this is incredibly brainless in a later interjection, but if I could explain one major part of the discussion this argument fails to address, it's the fact that this, it's not really a case of people going, oh, I want to draw this, but it turns out it looks like somebody else's OC. It's 99% of the time somebody wanting to draw that a particular OC in naughty ways without permission. When you look at what you're saying with any critical analysis, it falls flat. On the other hand, you discuss this like people have it out for NSFW artists when the problem isn't inherently with NSFW artists. Are there people who may have issues with NSFW artists on principle? Indeed, as uncultured people will and always will exist, but this isn't what this discussion is about. Look at literally any video covering Carmen. Nobody seems to have an issue with NSFW artists for just drawing porn. I repeat, it's just artists who do not safe for work art of people's OCs without getting their okay first. That's the people aren't a fan of.
I mean, well, technically I am an NSFW artist, but am I one of those scummy ones that use other people's OCs as material? It's more of the fact that, well, your OC is very generic and other people can unintentionally design something that looks like it. And yes, I'm fully aware this is a parody. Keep in mind, I'm using this as a very clear example of how generic most OCs tend to look from each other. Other notable examples is how Jar looks like the robot from iRobot, Serpent Mythos looks like Cleo Denial, Slenderman looks like Jack Skellington, Shrek looks like the Hulk, Chewbacca looks like Bigfoot, Turkey Tom looks like Scott Pilgrim. Of course, we should not forget the entirety of the Sonic fanbase.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I guess there's no time like the present for me to let you in on the fact that I genuinely believe that this is the dumbest shit I have ever heard. No offense, but not really. Once again, I repeat my argument from the last interjection. Nobody is out here drawing porn of people's OCs because they look like other characters. Most of the time, the art is done with full awareness of who's being drawn. This is nothing but an excuse, and with the little reason I have left, I will politely ask you to maybe think about this stuff for maybe more than 4 seconds before you put this in a YouTube video. Anyways, let's talk about the other thing I hate about this argument. The idea that most people's OCs in principle are very similar to pre-existing characters. One, this is only really true if you like squint your eyes and copy Michael Jordan's Space Jam performance, because under open eyes, this thing fucking melts like my hopes and dreams under the afternoon sun when I go to college. This point is straight up bogus, and there's no polite way to write that, it's just how I feel. Like, yeah, you can point at many characters and point out similarities in their design philosophy, style, and the way they're drawn, and in many cases you can look at different characters and admit they do look similar, but acting like this is in all ways is mind-numbingly nonsensical. I don't even have to go far to explain what's wrong with this logic. You throw in some examples and going over any of them perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with this way of thinking. Jar's Robo-Sona, as I'll call it, has many differences with the iRobot robots. While I can see that it seemingly takes inspiration from the designs, there are a few differences. The details on the face, and in general, the expressiveness of Jar's Robo-Sona compared to the robots of iRobot, for an example. If somebody's gonna draw porn of Jar, and that is not a request, Mr. A, then somebody glancing at the artwork will probably be able to tell that it's Jar and not just a generic iRobot robot. The other examples are not better. In fact, I'd say they're all worse. The second set of characters, whose names I'm too lazy to learn and pronounce, have different influences. The Bratz-looking character in the bottom right has a design that combines a mummy-like appearance with a 2000s-era stylish appearance, while the other one in the top left has a more pharaoh-ish design. The only things they have in common are dark skin and brown hair, and I should add that their hairstyles are much different. These two only look vaguely similar, and there are many visible differences, making them both stand out among each other. Slenderman lacks Skellington's bat-themed bow tie. Plus, he also, lacks a face. Like, the only thing these suits have in common is that, well, they're suits and they're in black and white, otherwise the designs are completely different. The only thing that Shrek and Hulk have is that they're both green. Otherwise, Shrek is fat, has a much rounder face with eared trumpets, whereas Hulk is much more muscular, has a more angular design, and isn't bald. They don't even wear the same colors, as Hulk is generally seen wearing purple, while Shrek wears brown. On the other hand, it could be argued that Chewbacca's design is meant to evoke an image similar to that of Bigfoot, though this is just me speculating, because I'm too lazy to figure that out for sure. And besides, that ultimately leads to a point I want to make about the fact that this would not only be intentional, and remember that Bigfoot is simply a legend, whereas Chewie is a character, it'd be an exception, not the rule. I can't fully say that Bigfoot doesn't look like Chewbacca, but if we were to look at this photo of a supposed sighting of Bigfoot, there are differences in the face area. Bigfoot looks more ape-like, while Chewie looks more like a mix between man, ape, and maybe a bit of dog too, given the black snout. Turkey Tom and Scott Pilgrim, at least if we're going off the live-action incarnation of the character, look barely alike. Like, the best I can cling onto here is that they're both white, are wearing red-like colors in these examples, and both have brown hair. Gee, I can't believe Turkey Tom stole all of those from Scott Pilgrim, the inventor of white people, brown hair, and the color red. Honestly, you'd have slightly more ground, and I repeat the word slightly, by the way, if you use the comic book version of the character, but even then, I can find some differences in how they look, boiling down to stylization, eyes, and expression. All of these characters have vague similarities with each other, but it's not to a point where you can get away with calling everyone here unoriginal. Oh, and then there's your entirety of the Sonic fanbase comment, which, like the others examples, is really dumb, but there's another layer to it that really makes me wish you spent more time thinking about this. Like, I get it, it's a running joke that a lot of Sonic fan characters are just recolors of pre-existing characters, which is often the case, but to say that's the entirety of the fandom, even acting like this is still heavily prevalent in 2021, is not very smart. Try again. Or no, don't actually, because personally I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense. Instead, how about we do this? Don't do it again.
Of course, this doesn't exclude my own OCs either. Literally, my OC looks like Kirito and fucking Yandere Dev, so I'm utterly disgusted knowing that fact.
No offense, or you know what, full offense actually, but I think this is the only good example, and it's only good because it just shows you lack originality. Your character is simply a black-haired anime boy. To tell you the truth, you can often find designs like this prevalent in especially Japanese media. Although this is something that's intentional and particular to only specific types of media, where the intent is to allow the general consumer of the product to be able to project themselves on the character itself, but otherwise, again, an exception, not the rule.
Even Clones herself thought Sunsama was her, when Sunsama was actually one of the 4 original OCs in our channel.
Yeah, let's bring it up in impersonating stalkers if everyone watching this video knows who you're talking about. Quick introduction. Audience, this is Doodle Clones, a stalker slash impersonator who is stalking slash impersonating a friend of mine, Doodle Tones, for the crime of having issues with a known groomer. Doodle Clones, meet the audience. They all think you should touch grass. But seriously, you say Clones herself as if everyone's supposed to know who this is, and that personally doesn't sit well with me. Nothing else in this video, nothing about you particularly sits well with me, to be honest, but now's not the time or place, to be honest.
Baka, how dare you use that old picture of me?
Eeks, I'm just using it for context.
On what exactly?
Oh, this is a remake slash commentary of Carmen Ryder's original video.
Okay, I just can't ignore this any longer. Admittedly, I was a bit hesitant to talk about your art because I'm not much of an art advice giver. I'm a new artist myself, even though I've actually been doing it for 4 years. But look, I'm not that good of an artist, so I wasn't going to talk about your art because I can relate to not having exactly great art. But I simply cannot ignore how you make your art look all the more ugly by giving all of your characters this ridiculous looking hip shaking motion that looks so unnatural and so janky that I genuinely cannot stand looking at it. It's so puppet-like and unnatural. I really think you should have had your characters standing still the whole time. If you say you did this for visual stimulation, I'd rather be blind, dead ass.
In that case, I have no other choice but to join you then.
What? Why?
Because someone has to be the voice of reason.
Ugh, what a pain.
Whatever, Baka. It's not like I want to be here with you in the first place. You're filthy, dirty, smelly, and a downright deviant.
Say what you will, but she's 100% correct. Also, another thing I kinda just noted is the audio balancing. Like, I could still hear you and your ugly side character just fine, but your music audio is still creeping up on your voice audio, making it a little bit hard to understand everything.
And then it was the following image. Some notable examples include Sky, Sienna from PN Seymour, Wolfie and Jaden.
Ogata, what the fuck are we commentating on?
On whether it's okay or not to make lewd fan art.
Nitpick, but earlier when your ugly side character showed up, you tried catching her up to speed on what you were covering then. Wouldn't this line have made much more sense back then instead of throwing this here? It serves no real purpose at this point in the video. It's short, but I think there was a much better place to throw it in that would have made that section and this section flow a little better.
I swear, the people who beg for their characters to not be looted have the most lootable features.
Lootable features, huh? Maybe you just have a dirty mind.
Yep, I absolutely do have a dirty mind.
You unbelievable, absolutely despicable pervert. I bet you're undressing me with your eyes right now, fantasizing about all of the things you want to do to me.
What? You got all of that just because I said I have a dirty mind? God, it could never even cross my mind.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
But anywhom, everything can be looted as long as you have the mindset to do so. And it definitely does not help the situation if you openly say, in front of the entire internet, not to do something. After all, humans are humans. They are quite rebellious in nature. More than likely, they will do the exact opposite of what you tell them to do. Because overall, humans don't like it when you tell other humans to do what you want them to do, when they possess the ability to do so. Especially when there's nothing illegal about it, and it's a very, very minuscule subject to begin with.
If I were to give a good summarization of what exactly the point of this discussion here is, it's the idea that given the fact that arguably anything can be seen as lootable if you have a specific mindset, and the fact that humans are apparently quick to rebel against anything you tell them not to do, basically this point is like how in Carmen's video she argues that not safe for work artwork of characters, whether or not it's wanted, is an inevitability, which means you're just supposed to accept it. At least, those are the implications I get from this interjection. Well, I should be the first to tell you that pretty much everything you said in this interjection is The nicest way I can put it is that it's not incredibly smart. I do think that statistically it's likely to happen, but the way you put your thoughts out here makes it feel more like everyone considers it when it's more than likely a smaller number, because while a lot of us possess the will of rebellion, given we're all heavily inspired by Persona 5, a lot of us also have a thing called tact, which is hard programmed into us and makes it to where we have the sense to know, hey, this person doesn't want us to draw their OCs in this way, maybe I shouldn't do that, or they might not feel comfortable. Let me guess, skipped a generation for you? Oh yeah, and then there's the comment of it not really being illegal and being minuscule as all hell. Oh, right, okay, so get this. There's this thing I've heard about recently. It's called being considerate of other people's feelings and not just yourself. Hell, minuscule is putting it very, very lightly. I'll repeat what I said in my Kamen Rider video, that the scale of how people could feel about such a thing depends on the person. And it could range from, okay, that's a bit weird, to possibly inducing panic attacks or something like that. So here we find you simply ignoring that fact and going, it's not that big of a deal, when, yeah, it's kind of a bigger deal than you claim, Neeting.
But going back to the topic of having lootable features, this is kind of where I have my own different opinion. Yes, I do agree with Kamen Rider that they do have lootable features, but as I stated earlier, people's OCs tend to be very generic in nature. Wolfie-Chu is a furry girl with blue hair that falls into the moe genre. Really, there's nothing new about that. And because of how generic her character archetype is, well, let's just say there's been a bunch of NSFW fan art made of that genre already. Therefore, the concept of her being looted was already done before her actual character was even created. Thus, when NSFW fan art of her is made, it's no big surprise.
I implore you to play this video back and see for yourself if anything you said in this interjection actually makes any logical sense. Because it doesn't. I know that's a dick thing for me to say, but I have seriously never seen such fucking coping, reaching for something to justify drawing porn of somebody's OC without permission. I've already somewhat made my problems with this logic clear, but if you need a refresher, it goes like this. Yes, the basis for the design is something that has existed long before that, but that doesn't inherently make it unoriginal. Certain design quirks and stylization of the character can make something that on paper might look similar look different. The base idea has existed for quite some time, and yet Wolfie-Chu has some differences compared to other blue-haired furry girls like Sayan, Sumiki, and Nicole Watterson, just to name a few examples. You wanna know something else that's really interesting, Nate? Believe it or not, a character design archetype and the character itself are actually two different things. If I want to loot myself because I like my Anthro boys, at the end of the day, I'm only looting myself and not, say, Goro from Genshin Impact, who was also an Anthro boy. While the archetype my OC had may have influenced my decision to do so, I'm not looting anyone else. The logic this argument is trying to go for is, because this archetype is something people have sexualized already, it's not surprising that Wolfie-Chu is getting sexualized. However, have you ever thought about the fact that unlike, say, a lot of characters who have those traits, Wolfie-Chu Sona is meant to reflect her, a real human being, and if she has problems with people sexualizing her Sona, then it's best to respect her wishes and not do that. Because unlike characters, she has the ability to say, hey, don't do that to me. Just because she fits these character bills doesn't make it any less weird in this case.
So wait, are you saying that just because someone fits this certain demographic that makes it immediately okay to loot her? Do you know how sexist that is?
You do realize this applies to both genders, right?
The wording in what Ugly Side Character says about your logic seeming sexist from the way you put it could be much better, because the way she implies it could either mean she's referring to the demographic you spelled out when you were trying to argue Wolfie-Chu Sona wasn't that original, which would make sense since you specified that it was a blue-haired furry girl. But on the other hand, you could also take the wording that if somebody fits this demographic, as a way of saying in general if somebody fits a specific demographic, not necessarily the one you spelled out a second ago, which at that point had me wondering how exactly the logic was sexist at all. While in the long run I do see what you might have been trying to say, I think more time should have been put into making it not as confusing. But I ran out of fucks 10 interjections ago, so I'm not gonna say that. I put a German sentence here because I thought it would sound cool, but I'm not gonna say that because I forgot how to pronounce it and I'm not about to embarrass myself. So just pretend I said something in German here. Bringing out the German backlog of words in case I need to pull from the laundry list of German insults in the future. Ooh, this is a good one. Neeting, I don't know if you can tell, but I think you have a big fucking Backpfeifengesicht.
Such as the moment two guys share a moment with each other, a very bro moment together, a very close bromance moment together. People immediately began sexualizing them in this weird couple dynamic.
Yeah, this interjection has convinced me that Backpfeifengesicht perfectly fits my feelings towards this video and you too. Rude as the word may be, I can't help but feel pretty irritated by the assertion that because people are shipping two men together, that's inherently sexual. Romantic. is the word, and romance can be sexual, obviously, but romance and sexual stuff are two different things. In the case that you show, nobody's fucking sexualizing shit. People are just upset because these characters aren't officially homos or whatever. Even if we ignore how I feel about that, it's not sexual. The thing is, if you think about it, it could be true to an extent that if two guys are chill and have a very good relationship in some sort of media, you might find people who'll sexualize their relationship, but off the example you give, I wouldn't have been thinking about that. I'd be more focused on my German insults. Dummkopf. That's a good one. Let me bookmark that.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Sky is a small, bratty weeb girl. That's fucking adorable.
Yeah, I guess to some degree. But it's more of the fact that Sky was designed to be boyfriend's sister and was trying to get him away from girlfriend. So it's more of the fact that she falls into the obsessed little sister archetype. Or is it older sister? But again, that's besides the main point here, which is that Sky falls into the sibling love category. Other notable groups are the Loud House and, of course, Pinecest.
Ew, what the fuck?
Or, better yet, Carmen could just like her because she thinks she's a cute bratty weeb girl and none of those incest tropes. They exist. Actually, no, they don't. I'll explain that in a second, but they don't have to be Carmen's reasons just because they have those tropes. Also, no, Sky is not boyfriend's sister. She was just a crazy fangirl who loved a boyfriend obsessively and wanted to get him away from girlfriend. For fuck's sake, you could literally find this on a Wikia or any of the 1,000 YouTube videos talking about the situation that unfolded with the creator of the mod.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Also keep in mind that the person who created Sky was 12 years old, so for the fact that a 12 years old person was indeed interested in sibling love goes to show the kind of person they are. And before you all go and jump to question that no, she created Sky to be this wholesome sister character, as I stated in my video, minors don't understand FNF. The literal premise of the game is to play a guy named Boyfriend to beat all of his rivals in singing and then bang a girl named Girlfriend. So yeah, the idea of sibling love is quite prominent when you literally create a character to be Boyfriend's sister and try to have her be Girlfriend's rival.
Okay, so now that you spelt your thoughts out like that, it's pretty clear that your belief that Sky fits into the sister love trope is not based on anything actually concrete, but instead on the assumption that because FNF is a game about boyfriend trying to get with girlfriend, and Sky is allegedly boyfriend's sister and is trying to get boyfriend away from girlfriend, that she's doing it out of a sense of love for him. On the topic of spelling things out, let me spell out a perfect synonym for this interjection. B-U-L-L-S-H-I-T. What does it spell? I don't know, but it sure looks like a funny word. It probably has to do with how I feel about Symphogear GX though. It's probably not incorrect of me to feel like what you're doing is simply stretching for a reason to believe this is the case and that Sky doesn't actually love boyfriend in the romantic sense. I mean, if she's girlfriend's rival and wants to keep her away from boyfriend, she can just as easily be doing it out of a sense of responsibility for her sibling, keeping him from bad influences, or, and hold on to your seats when I say this, she's not actually boyfriend's fucking sister. Crazy, I know.
And before you pull up, oh, the creator was 12, thus this is illegal, no. The creator canonically made Sky 19.
Son of a bitch. Wow, the idea that Sky is boyfriend's sister is not based on any actual facts, but it's on fucking speculation? So you just wasted 2 whole minutes of my time convincing me that Carmen's onto something by saying that Sky has little features because she's boyfriend's sister, when it's not even fucking true. This video, man, this fucking video!
Thus, canonically, Sky herself is 19. For instance, let's reverse the situation. If the creator was 19 and she made Sky 12, in world canonically, according to the haters' logic, because the creator is 19, it's okay. When no, it's not.
What even is this argument? I'm assuming the intent is to more or less say, people don't want Sky to be looted because the creator is 12. She was 13 or 14 by the way, but details. Even though the character is 19, but what if it was the opposite and the creator was 19 and the character was 12? This is honestly a self-defeating argument. There will people who have issues with either case, the latter because it's sexualizing a character who would be intended to be a minor, and the former because you're sexualizing a character who was made by a minor. Not helped by the shitty wording, like earlier I felt like you were trying to say illegal based on what you've been trying to say the entire video, but it sounded more like you said legal.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Sienna's just, well, just fucking look at her. You cannot tell me you don't want to put her tits around your dick.
Wait, what the fuck?
First of all, I do not know who this person is, but obviously, using surface level observation, she falls into the enlarged category. It's appealing to some with mommy issues, thus she will technically fall into the MILF category.
Wait, what the fuck? How does that make any sense?
Believe me, I was shocked when I first found out too. But it has to do with a really weird correlation between moms and, enlarged breasts.
Okay, well this categorization sucks. I mean, is this character even a mother, or at the very least old enough to be one? Because those seem to be the basic requirements to be a MILF if Oxford Dictionary is anything to go off of. And yes, MILF is in the Oxford Dictionary. Also, the phrase MILF seemed to have been in the use during the early 19th century, and I was wondering what that was all about. So I decided that after this, I was gonna make a conspiracy theory video about how Napoleon was probably defeated by MILFs at the Battle of Waterloo and not whatever bullshit story the British probably came up with, but we'll save that for later.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
But basically, Carmen Ryder left out how women can also enjoy themselves from, enlarged breasts. Which is obviously more than the singular, very, uncomfortable tit job.
What did you say?
Leave me alone. But basically, for the woman's side of things, you can gain sexual gratification through enlarged breasts by sucking, squeezing, massaging, lubing, biting, tickling, teasing, piercings, ice, strapping, whipping, light or heavy breathing, parting, groping, using food or toys. You basically get the gist.
May I add that this video is 16 plus, yet a lot of discussion feels like something that should be, 18 plus? I mean, look, when all of this is discussed in the context of sexual acts, I think the video age rating should reflect the adult discussion instead of being 2 years below for 16-year-olds. NSFW discussion on principle doesn't have to be 18 plus, I mean in the sense that if the video carefully discusses it, the video could be something like 16 plus, but it's not like you're putting in that effort when you start listing off a list of not exactly child-friendly acts you can do to breasts.
Wolfie Chew literally sexualizes herself in the thumbnails.
One of the dumbest criticisms ever made to this point in Carmen Ryder's video is the fact that it's because they're on scene they can sexualize whatever they want and doesn't belong to other people and thus they can't do it.
Well, yeah, that makes total sense.
To some degree until you actually think about it for more than 2 seconds with half a brain. Allow me to compare this to YouTube, how they are creating all of these sexual ads, and yet they don't allow their content creators to do the same thing, and actively strikes down anyone who does the same thing or even less than what an ad does. Do you see the hypocrisy?
Okay, that's a stupid comparison. We are talking about other people's OCs, not YouTube and their ads.
Different mediums, same concept. Just like Wolfie Chew, who allows sexual thumbnails onto her channels, YouTube allows sexual ads onto its platform. And when other people do the same thing, they go ballistic and literally try to shut down anyone else's. Of course, Wolfie Chew is a lot nicer than YouTube, but again, the same circumstances.
Okay guys, I'm making a big breakthrough here. I've been up all night trying to figure out how the fuck this makes any sense, but I think I'm getting the idea. I think I'm getting it, guys. So what I think the idea here is that YouTube is hypocritical because they are having sexual ads in spite of the fact that sexual content is not allowed on the site. And Wolfie Chew is no different because she sexualizes her persona, doesn't allow anybody to do the same thing to her persona. And then after that, I realized that in order to figure out how this makes any fucking sense, how this correlates in any fucking way, you gotta carry the 4. So you gotta put a 4 under here. And then after that, I came to my garage because I realized I had to steal my mom's car. And after I did this, you have to take this on a joyride, go to McDonald's, and buy a Happy Meal. And when you go there, make sure you ask for the girl's toy. You need to make sure they get you a girl's toy. And once you get the girl's toy, you come back here, sit down in front of your math homework, realize college is a scam, and realize this point makes no fucking sense. So yeah, at this point it goes without saying, but I'll do it anyways. YouTube is a corporation being incredibly irresponsible by allowing ads with some sexual content to run on their site in spite of their rules not allowing creators to upload sexual content. But this honestly has little to do with Wolfie Chew other than it seeming like a case of hypocrisy. This comparison doesn't work because there are other details that make this much different, such as Wolfie Chew's persona being based on how she wants to be perceived on the internet. So while she may be fine sexualizing herself, others doing so may not be something she'd be comfortable with. I mean, if she came out and allowed it, that'd be one thing, but as far as I know, she hasn't. This is a much more personal situation about sexualizing a particular person, whereas YouTube is just saying, don't upload sexual shit on our site, while having some borderline NSFW stuff running on their ads. Besides, I've already gone into it within my Kamen Rider video, but the only sexual things I know of that Wolfie Chew's done aren't even that sexual. Like, she's had herself wrapped in tentacles and had a panty shot and that's it. The first isn't inherently sexual, and the other is more of a low grade of sexualization. It's not like she's getting banged or anything, so there's also that fact that separates this from the YouTube example.
Thus, I will apply the same logic to Wolfie. Either she removes all of the sexual thumbnails, or, allow other people to make sexual NSFW art of her OC. And please don't get me wrong, she can do whatever she wants. But if that logic applies to her, then that also applies to other artists. Thus is the term of creative freedom. Understand, I don't like double standards, and I advocate for true freedom and equality. It's like lecturing people not to eat cake when you yourself are eating cake. Of course, you can bring up morality and how this is not right, this and that, but you also need to understand the very nature of what you're asking another person to do, which is to rob themselves of their own freedom to do something. Of course, if you want to bring up the whole copyright striking or cease and desist, just like Konami and Nintendo, sure, go ahead, but people won't like you anymore.
I have not seen such stretching since 2015's Fantastic Four. I also don't think I've seen such a crime against humanity since then either, but honestly, even that movie was more enjoyable than this fucking video. But seriously, I don't want to be repeating myself into the heat death of the universe, but I do find that comparing large corporations like Nintendo striking down fan games that don't hurt their sales or striking down their music uploaded by people on YouTube in spite of the fact that there isn't any real easy or at least convenient access to their music in the first place is an apples to oranges comparison when you're comparing it to a single content creator who may not be comfortable being sexualized by others, but is willing to do it to themselves.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
And Jaden, well, she's funny, relatable, poofy hair, and all above, Asian.
Basically, Carmen Ryder said that Asian women are attractive. In what scenario does it make someone racist for calling another person attractive?
Look, I know we've been at this for a while now, but I think you're forgetting a particularly important detail in which all of this discussion Carmen Ryder has been doing is in the context of her claiming that all of these OCs she's been listing off have incredibly lootable features, thus she doesn't see why she can't sexualize them. TLDR, she's saying that above all possible reasons to loot Jaden, it's because of the fact that she's Asian. It's more than a case of somebody simply finding Asian people more attractive. It's downright a case of somebody fetishizing Asian people.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
Looking at Jaden Animation's base sprites and not having any clue of what she looks like in real life, for the longest time I thought she was white. Of course, I saw Speed's video where she was being interviewed by Anthony Padilla, and then yes, she was shown to be Asian, which was indeed a big surprise. And it also leads me to conclude on one absolute thing. Jaden was not looted because she was Asian, she was looted because her character design is just so basic, and anyone can draw it with the most minimal of effort. And it makes sense because they're animators, and animators have to keep what they're animating very simple because it's all about repetitious drawings to have them do what you want them to do, which is highly efficient in Jaden Animation's end. And I dare say that's because of that very simplicity that allowed so many NSFW fan art of her to be made in the first place. The simpler the design, the more easy it is to replicate and accurately portray your own fantasies upon her.
So I'm skipping around this section on Jaden Animation, partially because I don't feel qualified to discuss this as somebody who is an Asian, but also because this part of the video features the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life, and trying to sort them out has been a nightmare. This in particular is so insanely stupid that... Ugh. Your belief that people aren't looting Jaden because she's Asian is so fucking stupid when you literally played Carmen spelling out that she believed that Jaden being Asian made her lootable. How the fuck can you turn around and act like that isn't playing a part in this when you played that out? On the other hand, yes, Jaden's OC has a simplistic design, but you know what? That is absolutely not the main reason she is being sexualized. It's most likely a combination of people liking Jaden and liking her Sona. The other thing can play a part in how much is made, but saying that this is likely the reason that people do it is, well, stupid, plain and simple.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200.
People would often use the argument for Jaden and Wolfie of, they're based on real people. And to that I say, the key word being based on. It's not of the actual people. Pretty sure doing that would be impossible without deep faking them, which is something I am against.
Well, Carmen Ryder, it should also be noted that it doesn't really matter whether someone is real or fake. Even real people get NSFW'd on, either by art, 3D models, costumes of them, the list goes on. If there is a medium, the internet will find a way.
And you shut the fuck up. It is true that at the end of the day, it's an inevitability, if anything, that NSFW art could be made of anything, which includes real people. But pushing your logic because it's inevitable that it makes it okay is like, wow. I already discussed this in my own Kamen Rider video, but inevitability doesn't make it morally okay. It just means that some people may do it. In the same way, some people might commit a murder. Is murder okay? No, obviously. Of course, these are two different wavelengths of bad things, but it works off the same logic. Like, people still do this thing that is considered not okay, but it doesn't make it okay on principle, you fucking dumb cunt.
The real issue or not is whether we should enforce full authoritarian control over artists and their creations.
Wait, Ogata-san, the point of this discussion was so that we can determine whether or not it's okay to draw NSFW art of other OCs, not this authoritarian crap.
In the grand scheme of things, it's basically the same thing. To use Nintendo once again, they own Pokemon, so if an NSFW artist happens to make a very good living selling off NSFW Pokemon furry porn, by the opposition's logic, Nintendo has every right to destroy, shut down, cease and desist, and crush that artist, even though the artist with their own skills was able to create and sell a product Nintendo will never be okay with.
And here on your right, you'll see yet another apples to oranges comparison from Studio Neeting More. Think about it like this. You're using an example of whether or not it's fine for a corporation that holds the rights to a video game franchise to cease and desist artists who draw NSFW art of their characters to smaller, by comparison, artists and creators, simply not wanting people to draw art of their OCs in this specific way.
But now for the core of the video. 3 reasons why you shouldn't prevent porn of your OCs.
Wait, what the fuck? We're still not in the main points of the video?
Damn, it's been over 22 minutes already. How time flies.
I wanna die.
You're ugly. You are disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
In the other side of the spectrum, you will have very, very conservative snowflakes that will completely reject the very NSFW art itself. Thus, they will launch a preemptive attack on the original person in particular. An example will be Overwatch, where Overwatch got unexpected hate from parents after realizing that the early search results tends to be NSFW fan art, since both Wolfie Chu and Jaden Animations tends to be either more kid-friendly or wholesome in general. Thus, it's not really much of a bragging right if there's a bunch of NSFW when you want to remain more kid-oriented. Yes, Kamen Rider is right that fans made this out of their own loyalty and admiration to the original source material, but that kind of love is also very, very painful, especially for child-oriented channels. For an analogy, it's like overwatering a plant. They're doing it with the best intentions, but it does more harm than good.
So let me get this straight. You made an entire interjection actually pointing out that there was a gray area in Carmen's logic, that how this could negatively affect certain people, especially more kid-oriented content creators, but then you just kinda hand-wave all of this stuff that's kind of working against you and never bring it up again, and act like people not being a fan of NSFW art of content creators in general are being stupid. Like, you yourself gave them a reason to not be a fan in this instance. You do realize that, right? Also, in the case of that Overwatch example, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the problem there that the parents didn't like the fact that if they or their children were to look up Overwatch, that art would be the first thing they'd find? That's not exactly something you want kids finding, you know. Though, based on your wording, this could also mean that the parents got the wrong impression of the game because of that art, and maybe assumed it was a lewd game or something along those lines. But still, if it was the former situation, then it's not a good example of the point you're trying to illustrate here.
But if you're much more edgier and aiming for an older demographic, by using very, very explicit thumbnails, all you're really doing is soliciting a response. Using the plant analogy again, it's like you see dry leaves and dry dirt, and you know that it's time to water the plant.
I was initially going to ignore this, but I kind of had a flashback to a certain Umbreon I wanted to shove down a flight of stairs, and now that I think about it, I really don't like this point. I understand that if a content creator does stuff like making art of themselves that may edge on being a little explicit, it may give you the impression that they're okay being sexualized, but that doesn't inherently give anyone an okay to do it. Then saying, you're basically soliciting a response. Yeah, is it wrong of me to feel like this is a bit victim-blamey? With what I said earlier in mind, it doesn't seem fair to overstep how others may feel about other people drawing porn of them because they already do it themselves. It feels incredibly self-serving, and all this seems to be is just deflecting the person's feelings in the long run.
Number 2. It's inevitable. There's a reason Rule 34 exists. It's inevitable. Trying to stop it will only result in people making you look like an ass, and others making porn out of spite. This is the internet. Literally, everything is made into porn.
Just because you can make it doesn't mean it's okay. And saying that the act is inevitable is like condoning the act to happen in the first place.
I guess to some degree, but again, you're treating this like a felony when in reality it's not. This is more of a moral code than it is anything that's illegal. It's like littering or loitering. Yeah, the very acts themselves are frowned upon, and in some places around the world you can be jailed for doing things like this, but here in Murica, people still do it regardless. Whether openly or privately, it's an act that will more than likely occur because it's simply human nature. Thus, when Kamen Rider says that it's inevitable, she isn't condemning the actual OCs themselves, or justifying the very existence existence of NSFW fan art. All she is saying is that with 7 billion humans here on this planet, more than likely one of them will be able to make that fan art in the first place. So unless you're willing to police all 7 billion of those human individuals and rob them of their freedom and privacy, just so that you can enforce your own moral standards upon them, just so that you can force your own misguided attempt to defend someone's fictional OC. Yeah, it's easy to say that Kamen Rider is taking the easy route by saying that it's inevitable, but the same logic applies to everyone who's taking the moral high ground by saying that NSFW fan art of someone's OC is bad, because the lengths to push this ideology is not only a lot more work than either creating or reposting someone's NSFW fan art, but to actually achieve this feat, you have to violate the human rights of others.
Long time no see. It's pre-Lunatic, and since Lunatic seems to be incapacitated, I'll be taking over because I'm bored and got finished with yet another season of Love Live, and am crying over the lack of Zombieland Saga Season 3, and I'm trying to hold myself over with Symphogear. And if you're wondering how I feel about Symphogear so far, well... Icky Hitchara. But that aside, Neeting, I recommend actually sitting down and playing all of this back, because to anyone actually watching this video, these points are all ridiculously stupid. First, Luna probably knocked you over the head with, "It's not illegal, but that doesn't make it okay" point many times, but I'll repeat it because I don't particularly like you nor the audience because I'm edgy like that. Look, people treat this as seriously as they do because people just want to set some boundaries, tell people not to go around making others uncomfortable. You know it's bad when me, the evil Lunatic, agrees that it's not okay. Then there's the comments about littering and loitering, specifically because based on your wording, I got the impression that it isn't necessarily illegal in America. For example, Lunatic is from Arkansas, and in Arkansas, littering is illegal and loitering is a classy demeanor, as in it can net you a fine or a month worth of jail time. So while I assume maybe it's not illegal in all parts of America, because I'm too lazy to figure that out for myself, I do find the generalization that in America it's simply a moral code to be incredibly dumb. Also, I find it hard to believe that Kamen Rider isn't justifying the existence of NSFW fan art and isn't condemning these OCs to their fate. I mean, isn't the entire purpose of this video to tell people that they should be fine with it? To me, this is you taking the argument in a completely different direction and then whitewashing Carmen's point to make it sound less bad. And that would work if you hadn't literally just played her fucking point. And then there's the rest of this interjection. This is like going, "Oh, come on, guys, you can't enforce laws against crime, but people will still do them anyway, so why enforce them? You're just taking the moral high ground and saying we should have laws against crime." People who are saying don't draw NSFW fan art of people who don't want it probably know they can't convince literally every human on the planet to agree with them, but they can at least discourage most people from doing it. Fuck this, I'm going back to Midfogear GX.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
I've seen way too many artists try to say shit like, "Please don't draw porn in my characters." And frankly, I'm sick of seeing it. Fictional characters are fair game for porn. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Am I saying you have to like it? No. I'm saying is that you shouldn't try to prevent it.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's fair game or not. NSFW fan art is still gross.
That is literally a straw man of the argument. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the ugly side character, to straw man the opposing argument so Neeting can come out looking a lot smarter than they actually are, but this straw man is so blatantly obvious it does the exact opposite. This whole situation isn't about how gross it is to draw NSFW fan art, it's about people drawing NSFW fan art for people who don't want it to happen. You know what? Honestly, at this point, I don't even feel like talking about this video anymore. I am so fucking tired of Neeting's nonsensical, largely stupid arguments that I'd rather talk about literally anything else. In fact, I might just. Give me a second. Okay, so this is gonna be the part where I'd go on this long tangent about how Blazing Up was actually involved in World War II. But then, real life happened and I feel it isn't exactly a tasteful bit, so we're just gonna skip over that and do final thoughts. I have much more to say about that thing than anything I can say to Studio Neeting more that he'd actually be willing to listen to, but I guess it'd be a dick move for me to not say anything at all. Look, a TLDR about the rest of the video is that he takes a clip of Jade admitting that while she doesn't care for the fact that people make porn of her OC, she more so cares about making sure her younger audience can't find it, and says that she's more upset with content creators who profit off the discussion, which leads into Neeting using this to say that everyone who talks about how unsolicited NSFW fan art is just doing it to take the moral high ground and don't care about the people who are subject to this, and how telling people not to do it makes more people aware of it, yada yada. I really want Neeting to shut the fuck up, for everyone's sake. Look, I don't even know what to say for final thoughts. I could repeat over and over how dumb the mentalities in this video are, how Neeting just kinda reaches for points, the like. However, I think I'll hold my tongue and skim my final thoughts. As I've alluded to, Neeting isn't exactly someone I have any sense of respect for due to a variety of things they have done and perpetuated, but I'd rather keep that off my channel and leave that to those who care and have spent time picking that stuff apart, like Doodle Tones for an example. All I've gotta say to you, Neeting, is to cope and seethe harder. Good night. I'm going to bed.
あなた探すたびに今呼び覚ます記憶の中で